How humans became human. In this story, we will follow the long road that shaped us into modern human beings. We will look at how our bodies changed, how our hands became useful, why walking on two legs mattered, how tools changed our future, and how early ancestors slowly moved from forests into wider landscapes. This is a story about evolution, but told as a calm journey through time rather than a classroom lesson. Long before cities, languages, farms, temples, or written history, there was a world without anything that looked fully human. No one had built a fire in the center of a camp. No child had listened to a bedtime story. No hand had carved a symbol into stone. The earth was already ancient, filled with forests, rivers, insects, birds, reptiles, mammals, storms, seasons, and endless competition for survival. Life had been changing for billions of years, and our own beginning was hidden inside that larger movement. The earliest chapters of our story did not take place on open plains, but among trees. Many millions of years ago, small primates moved through branches, searched for fruit, watched for danger, and learned to survive in a world where balance, eyesight, touch, and memory mattered. A creature living in trees cannot move carelessly. It must judge distance before reaching for a branch. It must know which fruits are ripe, which sounds mean danger, and where the safest routes lie. In that kind of world, useful hands, forward-facing eyes, and flexible bodies became powerful advantages. Those ancient primates were not humans, and they were not thinking about the future of humanity. They were simply alive, solving the problems of their own world. Yet inside their bodies were some of the first foundations of our own. Fingers that could grasp, eyes that could judge depth, shoulders that allowed reaching, and minds that could remember places and recognize other members of the group would later become part of a much greater story. Social life was also important from the beginning. Primates rarely live as isolated creatures. They watch one another constantly. They notice status, friendship, tension, danger, trust, and belonging. A face can be a warning. A call can mean food. A gesture can prevent conflict. A mother's attention can keep an infant alive. Long before full language appeared, our distant ancestors were already living in a world of signals and relationships. This matters because intelligence did not grow only from solving physical problems. It also grew from social life. To survive among others, an animal must remember who helped, who threatened, who shared, who deceived, and who could be trusted. The roots of human emotion and personality reach deep into this social past. The need to belong, the fear of rejection, the comfort of familiar faces, and the ability to learn by watching others did not suddenly appear in modern people. They were shaped over a very long time. As the planet changed, the environments of Africa changed with it. Forests expanded in some periods and shrank in others. Woodlands, grasslands, river valleys, and mixed landscapes opened new possibilities. The ancestors that would eventually lead toward us did not remain exactly like their tree-living relatives. Some began spending more time on the ground. Their bodies slowly adapted to a different way of moving. One of the greatest changes in our history was walking on two legs. Today, walking upright feels ordinary because we do it without thinking. But for our ancestors, this change altered nearly everything. A body balanced on two legs sees the landscape differently. It can travel over long distances with less energy than many other forms of movement. It frees the hands from carrying the body's weight. Those hands can now hold food, carry infants, gather materials, or later shape tools. Upright walking also changes the entire skeleton. Feet, knees, hips, spine, shoulders, and skull all have to work together in a new way. This transformation was not perfect. Evolution never redesigns from the beginning. It modifies what already exists. Our backs ache partly because our spine carries the legacy of a body that was reshaped for upright posture. Human knees and hips carry heavy loads. Childbirth became more difficult as the pelvis adapted to walking while babies developed larger heads. Our bodies are full of such compromises, and these compromises are evidence of history written into bone. Some of the earliest known hominins, the group that includes modern people and our extinct relatives after the split from the chimpanzee line, show signs of upright walking. The details are complex, and scientists continue to debate exactly how each species moved. But by the time we reach Australopithecus, upright walking is clearly part of the story. Australopithecus afarensis is one of the best-known early relatives. The famous fossil called Lucy, discovered in Ethiopia in 1974, lived about 3.2 million years ago. Lucy was small, with long arms and a brain much smaller than ours, but her skeleton shows that she walked upright. She was not a modern human, and she was not an ape in the ordinary sense. She belonged to a branch of life moving in a new direction, carrying a mixture of old and new traits. A few 100,000 years before Lucy, other individuals left something even more direct behind: footprints. At Laitoli, in Tanzania, ancient footprints preserved in volcanic ash show upright walkers moving across a landscape more than 3.5 million years ago. The prints are simple and deeply moving. No tools, no art, no words, no names. Just feet pressing into ash, step after step, while time quietly prepared to turn them into evidence. It is easy to imagine those walkers as symbols, but they were living creatures with immediate concerns. They needed food. They needed safety. They needed one another. They moved through landscapes with predators, changing weather, and uncertain resources. Their lives were not primitive in the sense of being meaningless. They were complete lives within their own world. The next great shift involved tools. At first, a stone tool may not seem like a dramatic invention. A broken rock with a sharp edge looks simple compared with the machines of modern life. But in evolutionary terms, it was a doorway. A sharp flake could cut meat, scrape hides, open tough plant material, or break bones to reach marrow. A creature using stone was extending the power of its body beyond teeth and nails. Tool-making required more than strength. It required observation, hand control, planning, and learning. Not every stone breaks the same way. Not every strike produces a useful edge. A good toolmaker had to understand material, angle, force, and purpose, even if not in words. Skills could be watched, copied, improved, and passed on. Once knowledge travels between generations, a species begins to carry more than genes. It carries tradition. The earliest widely recognized stone tool tradition is called Old Awan, dating back more than 2.5 million years. These tools are associated with early members of the genus Homo and possibly other hominins as well. They were not beautiful in the later artistic sense, but they were effective. They helped change diet, behavior, and social life. Food is one of the hidden engines of evolution. A larger brain requires a great deal of energy, and our ancestors had to find ways to support that cost. Meat, marrow, tubers, fruits, seeds, and many other foods all played roles at different times and places. Early humans were not simple cartoon hunters. They gathered, scavenged, cracked, cut, shared, and adapted. Flexibility was often more important than specialization. The relationship between food and the brain became even more important later with cooking, but even before regular fire use, tools made new calories available. A carcass left by a predator could become useful if stone flakes opened it. A bone could be broken. A hide could be processed. A plant could be cut or crushed. Small changes in access to food could influence survival, reproduction, and development across thousands of generations. Around 2 million years ago, a new kind of ancestor appeared more clearly in the fossil record: Homo erectus. Homo erectus was not the first member of our genus, but it was one of the most successful. Compared with earlier forms, this species had a larger brain, a more modern body shape, longer legs, and a build suited for walking and traveling. Its face was still different from ours, its skull lower and heavier, but its body had taken a major step toward the human form. This species also traveled farther than any earlier hominin we know. Homo erectus, or closely related forms, spread beyond Africa into parts of Asia and possibly Europe. Fossils from Georgia, Java, China, and other regions show that early humans had begun to move across continents long before Homo sapiens existed. These movements were not planned migrations in the modern sense. No one knew they were leaving Africa to enter Asia. Groups followed food, water, animals, coastlines, rivers, and habitable landscapes. One generation moved a little farther, then another, then another. Travel changed everything. A species that moves into new environments must adapt to new climates, new animals, new plants, new dangers, and new opportunities. The ability to learn became more valuable. A rigid animal survives only where its habits fit. A flexible one can enter new worlds. Homo erectus was also connected with a more advanced tool tradition called Acheulean, known for hand axes and other carefully shaped tools. These objects required more planning than earlier stone flakes. Some were symmetrical, balanced, and shaped with attention that almost feels aesthetic. They were practical tools, but they also reveal a mind capable of holding a form in memory and bringing it out of stone through repeated action. The hand axe is one of the most famous objects in early human history. It appears again and again across huge stretches of time. To hold one is to feel the patience of a species that learned through repetition. The maker selected a stone, struck it carefully, turned it, shaped it, corrected it, and produced an edge that could cut, scrape, dig, or butcher. Each tool connected body, memory, and landscape. Sometime during the long age of Homo erectus and later human relatives, fire entered the story in a more important way. The exact timing of controlled fire is debated, because evidence is difficult to preserve and interpret. Natural fires existed long before humans controlled them, and early groups may have used fire opportunistically before learning to create or maintain it reliably. Still, by later stages of human evolution, fire became central. Fire changed the night. Before fire, darkness belonged more fully to cold, predators, and uncertainty. With fire, a group could gather after sunset inside a circle of light. Warmth protected bodies. Smoke discouraged insects. Flames kept some animals away. Food could be cooked, making it safer, softer, and easier to digest. A fire also created a social center. People could sit facing one another after the day's movement ended. It is not hard to see why fire and storytelling seem connected. When faces are lit by flame and the surrounding world becomes dark, attention gathers naturally. Even before complex language, sounds, gestures, expressions, and shared memory would have mattered in such settings. Later, when language developed fully, the firelit group became a place for teaching, warning, remembering, and imagining. Cooking may have helped support brain expansion by making food easier to chew and digest. A cooked fruit gives up energy differently from a raw one. Cooked meat is easier to process than raw meat. Softer food may also have influenced teeth and jaws over long periods. Again, no single change explains humanity. Evolution works through many threads woven together: walking, tools, diet, fire, cooperation, childhood, communication, and climate. Climate deserves special attention. The human story unfolded during periods of major environmental change. Africa did not present one stable background. Lakes appeared and dried. Forests shifted. Grasslands expanded or retreated. Animal communities changed. Rainfall patterns moved. A population adapted to one set of conditions could face a different world generations later. This uncertainty may have favored versatility. A species that can eat many foods, move through varied landscapes, cooperate in groups, learn new techniques, and remember seasonal patterns has an advantage when the world changes. Humans became specialists in not being too specialized. Our strength was not one weapon or one habitat. It was adaptability. That adaptability included the body. Long legs helped with distance. Sweating helped cool the body during activity in hot climates. A relatively narrow waist and flexible torso helped with walking and running. Hands became increasingly precise. Teeth and jaws became smaller over time. The face gradually changed. The brain expanded. None of these changes happened in isolation. Every part of the body is connected to behavior, diet, development, and environment. The face is especially interesting because it carries both biology and communication. Our faces are smaller and flatter than those of many earlier relatives. Teeth are reduced. Brow ridges become less pronounced in later Homo sapiens. The chin appears in modern humans in a distinctive way. But a face is not only bone. It is also expression. Eyebrows, eyes, mouth, cheeks, and subtle movements allow silent communication. Long before writing, and perhaps before language reached its full power, faces helped carry social meaning. The eyes of humans are unusual among primates because the white part, the sclera, is clearly visible. This may help others follow gaze direction. When someone looks toward danger, food, or another person, the direction of the eyes can communicate quickly. In a cooperative species, being able to read attention matters. A glance can guide, warn, invite, or accuse. The voice also began to matter more deeply. Language did not leave clear fossils, but the path toward it involved brain changes, breath control, hearing, social learning, and the vocal tract. It likely developed gradually, not as a sudden invention. At some point, our ancestors moved beyond simple calls into more flexible communication, able to refer to events, places, actions, memories, and possibilities. Language gave human groups an extraordinary power. Knowledge no longer had to be learned only by direct experience. A dangerous place could be described before a child went there. A hunting plan could be discussed before anyone moved. A memory could outlive the moment. A person could speak of yesterday, tomorrow, ancestors, obligations, promises, and imagined worlds. Once a species can speak about things that are not present, the mind changes. Planning becomes richer. Teaching becomes more precise. Cooperation expands. Myths, rules, Jokes, warnings, and identities become possible. A group can become bound not only by blood and proximity, but by shared stories. At the same time, the human brain grew inside the demands of social life. Living with others is difficult. It requires emotional control, memory, empathy, competition, trust, alliance, and attention to reputation. A person in a small group cannot behave as if alone. Every action may affect future support. Someone who shares may later receive help. Someone who deceives may be remembered. Someone who cares for children may strengthen the group. Someone who causes conflict may threaten survival. This is where the roots of character begin to appear. Modern personality is shaped by many forces: genes, development, family, culture, trauma, learning, health, and personal choices. Yet some broad tendencies make sense in an evolutionary light. Caution, curiosity, sociability, patience, boldness, sensitivity, persistence, suspicion, generosity, and competitiveness all could be useful in certain situations. A group made only of reckless explorers might not survive. A group made only of fearful avoiders might miss opportunities. Diversity of temperament may have helped human communities respond to different challenges. A cautious person notices danger early. A curious person discovers new food or paths. A socially skilled person reduces tension. A persistent person finishes difficult work. A sensitive person may detect subtle changes in mood, weather, or group behavior. A bold person may take risks that benefit others, though risk can also destroy. Traits are not simply good or bad. Their value depends on context. This matters for understanding ourselves today. Many qualities people judge harshly in themselves may have old roots. Anxiety, for example, can become painful in modern life, but its deeper purpose is preparation for danger. A mind that imagines what might go wrong is trying to protect the body. In the ancient world, hearing a sound in the dark and preparing for danger could save a life. In modern life, the same system may react to messages, deadlines, silence, or social uncertainty. The same is true of belonging. Being excluded from a group once carried serious danger. A lone human was vulnerable. Food, protection, childcare, knowledge, and comfort all depended on others. This helps explain why rejection can hurt so deeply. The body treats social pain as something important because, for most of our history, it was. By the time early Homo sapiens began to appear in Africa around 300,000 years ago, the foundations had already been laid across millions of years. Upright walking, skilled hands, tool-making, social learning, growing brains, long childhoods, flexible diets, and expanding communication had prepared the ground. Modern humans did not step out of nowhere. They emerged from a long inheritance. Early Homo sapiens were not identical to people today in every detail, but they were recognizably part of our species. Their skulls show a high, rounded brain case compared with earlier humans, a smaller face, and other features closer to modern anatomy. They lived in Africa, a continent of varied landscapes and deep genetic diversity. Over time, different populations moved, mixed, separated, adapted, and changed. These early people lived by gathering, hunting, making tools, sharing knowledge, raising children, and reading the land. They knew nothing of nations, races, science, or history as we understand them. Yet their lives contained intelligence, skill, danger, tenderness, and memory. They followed animal tracks, recognized edible plants, made tools from stone, bone, or wood, listened to weather, carried infants, mourned losses, and learned from elders. They were not waiting to become us. They were fully themselves. That is important. Evolution is often told as if every earlier species existed only to lead to modern humans. But no creature lives as a rough draft of the future. Lucy was not trying to become Homo sapiens. Homo erectus was not incomplete because it did not build cities. Neanderthals were not failures because they disappeared. Each form of life belonged to its own time, solving its own problems as best it could. Still, from our viewpoint, we can trace the road that eventually reached us. It was shaped by countless small changes, most of them invisible in a single lifetime. A foot better suited for walking. A hand more precise. A child learning longer. A group sharing more information. A brain remembering more. A voice carrying richer meaning. A fire kept alive through the night. The human being was not created by one invention. Not by tools alone, not by fire alone, not by language alone, not by brain size alone. We became human through the combination of many things reinforcing one another over immense time. Hands made tools, and tools changed food. Food supported brains, and brains improved learning. Learning strengthened culture, and culture changed survival. Social life shaped emotion, and emotion held groups together. Fire changed night, and night gave space for memory and story. Walking opened landscapes, and landscapes demanded adaptability. This is the deep beginning of us. Before art, before farming, before cities, before empires, before books, before science, before anyone asked where we came from, our ancestors were already carrying the answer in their bodies. Every step across a plain, every tool struck from stone, every child taught by watching, every group gathered near firelight was part of the making of humanity. The next part of the story follows Homo sapiens more closely. It moves into language, symbolism, art, migration, encounters with Neanderthals and Denisovans, and the physical variety that appeared as people spread across different climates. It is the part of the story where humans become not only tool makers and travelers, but meaning makers. The body had learned to walk. The hand had learned to shape. The group had learned to remember. Now the mind was ready to imagine. The body had learned to walk. The hand had learned to shape. The group had learned to remember. Now the mind was ready to imagine. By the time Homo sapiens appeared in Africa, the world had already been prepared by millions of years of change. Earlier ancestors had walked upright, crossed landscapes, made stone tools, gathered in groups, cared for children, and learned from one another. But our own species brought these older abilities into a new kind of intensity. The body was lighter than many earlier relatives. The skull became more rounded. The face grew smaller. The brain was large, but brain size alone was not the whole story. What mattered was how that brain worked inside a social, tool-using, speaking, remembering community. The earliest Homo sapiens did not live in a single place, with one culture and one way of life. Africa itself was vast and varied. There were grasslands, forests, wetlands, deserts, coastlines, mountains, and river systems. Groups lived in different regions, sometimes separated for long periods, sometimes connected again through movement and mixing. This deep African diversity is one reason modern humans carry such rich genetic variation today. These early people were hunters, gatherers, trackers, makers, parents, children, elders, and observers of the land. They knew the movements of animals, the seasons of plants, the behavior of water, and the dangers that came with darkness, injury, hunger, or conflict. Their knowledge was not written, but it was not simple. A person living by foraging must understand hundreds of details: which fruits ripen after rain, which roots can be eaten, which tracks are fresh, which insects signal water nearby, which clouds may bring a storm, which places are safe to sleep, and which stories from elders should not be ignored. Knowledge lived in memory, habit, and teaching. It passed through demonstration, imitation, gesture, sound, and eventually complex language. Language is difficult to trace in fossils, but by the time fully modern behavior became visible, people were clearly doing things that required shared meaning. They planned, exchanged materials over distance, made more refined tools, decorated objects, used pigments, buried the dead in some places, and created images that suggest symbolic thought. Symbolic thought was one of the deepest changes in our story. A symbol is more than an object. It is something that stands for something else. A mark on stone can carry memory. A shell bead can show identity or belonging. A painted animal on a cave wall can hold meaning beyond the animal itself. A name can keep a person present after they leave the room. A myth can explain a landscape. A ritual can connect the living and the dead. Once the mind could live in symbols, human life became larger than the immediate moment. People could speak of yesterday and tomorrow, of animals not present, of ancestors, spirits, rules, promises, warnings, and imagine futures. A group could share not only food and shelter, but meaning. This ability did not remove danger or suffering, but it changed how people carried them. Art is one of the clearest windows into this new world. The oldest known art is not all the same. Some of it is geometric. Some uses pigment. Some appears on cave walls. Some is carved into bone, stone, or ivory. Some consists of beads, ornaments, or marks whose meaning we cannot fully recover. The famous cave paintings of Europe, such as those at Chauvet, Lascaux, and Altamira, came much later than the first Homo sapiens, but they reveal how powerful the human imagination had become. Horses, bison, lions, rhinos, deer, hands, dots, lines, and mysterious signs fill dark spaces that would have required effort to enter. Imagine someone carrying a lamp or torch into a cave tens of thousands of years ago. The air is cool. The walls are uneven. Shadows move with the flame. The artist knows the shape of an animal so well that a few lines can bring it alive on stone. The image may have been part of ritual, teaching, memory, or something else entirely. We cannot ask the painter what it meant. But we can still recognize intention. These were not random marks. They were acts of mind. The handprints are especially moving. Some were made by placing a hand against the wall and blowing pigment around it. What remains is not the hand itself, but its absence outlined in color. A person stood there, lifted their hand, and left a trace across an impossible distance of time. The body is gone. The voice is gone. The name is gone. But the gesture remains. This desire to leave a trace is deeply human. It appears in cave art, burial practices, carved objects, jewelry, monuments, writing, photographs, and even messages sent across digital screens. People want to be known. They want to remember and be remembered. They want to say, "I was here. We were here. This mattered." As Homo sapiens developed richer cultures, they also encountered other human species. For a long time, we imagined our species as replacing all others in a simple story of superiority. The real picture is more interesting. When modern humans expanded out of Africa, they entered landscapes where other kinds of humans already lived. Neanderthals occupied much of Europe and Western Asia. Denisovan lived in parts of Asia, known today mostly through DNA and a few fossil remains. There were also smaller and more mysterious human relatives in places such as island Southeast Asia. Neanderthals deserve more respect than older stereotypes gave them. They were not clumsy brutes waiting to be replaced. They survived for hundreds of thousands of years in difficult environments, including Ice Age Europe. Their bodies were powerful, with strong limbs, broad chests, and features suited to cold climates. They made tools, used fire, hunted large animals, cared for injured individuals, and probably had forms of symbolic behavior. Some evidence suggests they used pigments, ornaments, and perhaps created marks in caves. They were different from us, but not mindless. When Homo sapiens met Neanderthals, the encounters were not always the same. Some may have involved competition. Some may have involved avoidance. Some involved interbreeding. Many people today whose ancestry comes from outside Africa carry a small percentage of Neanderthal DNA. This means that, somewhere in the deep past, members of the two groups had children, and some of those children became ancestors of living people. Denisovan also left genetic traces. Their DNA survives in several modern populations, especially in parts of Oceania and Asia. One Denisovan-related genetic variant helped some Tibetans adapt to life at high altitude, where oxygen levels are lower. This is a striking example of ancient mixing becoming useful in a later environment. The story of modern humans is therefore not a pure line. It is a braided river. Populations moved, separated, met, mixed, adapted, and changed. Our species carries memories not only in culture, but in DNA. The great expansion of Homo sapiens out of Africa happened in waves, not as one single journey. Groups moved through the Middle East, along coasts, into Asia, Europe, and eventually Australia. Much later, people entered the Americas. These movements took place over tens of thousands of years, across climates that could be warm, frozen, dry, wet, rich, or dangerous. Migration did not mean walking confidently toward a known destination. It meant following life. A coastline offered shellfish, fish, birds, and plants. A river valley offered water and animals. A grassland offered herds. A forest offered fruit, wood, and shelter. A glacier blocked one route and opened another when it retreated. Groups adjusted to what the land allowed. As people spread into different environments, physical variation increased. This is where we must speak carefully, because modern ideas about appearance often carry social meanings that did not exist in the same way in deep prehistory. Human physical differences are real, but they do not divide humanity into separate biological ranks. They are the result of ancestry, adaptation, migration, isolation, mixing, genetic drift, sexual selection, and environment. No physical trait makes one group more human than another. Every living person belongs to the same species, and all modern populations are closely related in evolutionary terms. Skin color is one of the most visible examples of adaptation. Early Homo sapiens evolved in Africa, where strong sunlight shaped the body's relationship with ultraviolet radiation. Darker skin, rich in melanin, helps protect against UV damage and helps preserve folate, a nutrient important for health and reproduction. As some populations moved into regions with weaker sunlight, Lighter skin evolved in several places because it allowed the body to produce vitamin D more efficiently under lower UV conditions. This was not a single change in one place. Different genetic paths could lead to lighter pigmentation in different populations. Skin color changed over time according to sunlight, diet, geography, and ancestry. It is a practical biological response, not a marker of worth, intelligence, or character. Hair also varies for many reasons. Texture, thickness, curl pattern, and distribution are shaped by genetics and possibly climate, though scientists continue to study the details. Tightly curled hair may help protect the head from strong sun while allowing heat to escape. Straighter or wavier hair became common in many other environments. But hair is also influenced by inheritance, chance, and population history. Like skin, it became part of culture as well as biology. People cut, braid, cover, decorate, and style hair according to identity, beauty, religion, status, and personal expression. Body shape also shows environmental influence. In colder climates, shorter and broader body forms can help conserve heat, while longer and leaner builds can help release heat in warmer climates. These patterns are broad tendencies, not strict rules. Food availability, health, childhood conditions, ancestry, and individual variation all matter. Height, for example, is influenced by many genes but also by nutrition, disease, and living conditions during growth. The nose is another feature shaped partly by climate. Narrower nasal passages may help warm and humidify cold, dry air before it reaches the lungs, while broader shapes are common in many warmer, more humid regions. But again, the story is not simple. Faces reflect many influences: ancestry, climate, diet, development, sexual selection, and random genetic changes over time. Eye color varies because of genetic differences affecting pigmentation in the iris. Brown eyes are the most common worldwide and likely represent the older condition for our species. Lighter eye colors became more common in some populations, especially in parts of Europe, through genetic changes whose spread may involve a mixture of chance, population history, and selection. Eye color, like many traits, became noticeable because humans are highly visual and social. We read faces constantly, and eyes carry emotion, attention, and identity. Lactose tolerance is an example of recent evolution linked to culture. For most mammals, the ability to digest milk sugar declines after childhood. In some human populations, however, adults evolved the ability to digest lactose because their ancestors practiced dairying. This happened in different regions, including parts of Europe, East Africa, and elsewhere, through different genetic changes. Here culture changed diet, and diet shaped biology. People began keeping animals for milk, and over generations, genes that allowed adults to digest milk became more common in those communities. High-altitude adaptation offers another example. Populations living for many generations in the Himalayas, Andes, and Ethiopian highlands developed different biological responses to low oxygen. Tibetan high-altitude adaptation is partly connected to ancient Denisovan-related DNA. Andean and Ethiopian populations adapted through other pathways. The same challenge did not produce the same solution everywhere. Evolution often finds multiple routes. These examples show a larger pattern: our bodies are records of movement. A person's skin, hair, face, height, metabolism, immune system, and even some disease risks can carry traces of where ancestors lived, what they ate, which climates they endured, and which populations they mixed with. Yet no body tells a simple story. Every person is the result of many histories meeting. While bodies changed, cultures changed even faster. One of the most powerful features of Homo sapiens was the ability to build shared worlds of meaning. A group could have tools, rituals, rules, kinship systems, burial customs, ornaments, songs, dances, and stories. These things did not fossilize as easily as bones, but they shaped daily life profoundly. A person was not only a biological organism. They belonged to a remembered world. Burial practices show this clearly. Not all early humans buried the dead, and not every burial had the same meaning. But where burials do appear, sometimes with objects or careful positioning, they suggest that death had become more than a biological event. The dead could be treated with attention. Bodies could be placed, protected, accompanied, or remembered. Even when we cannot know the beliefs behind these actions, we can see care. Care itself has a long history. Fossils from Neanderthals and other ancient humans sometimes show individuals who survive serious injuries or disabilities for years. This suggests group support. A badly injured individual cannot survive alone in a harsh environment without help. The fact that some did survive tells us that ancient communities were not only competitive, they could also protect and sustain vulnerable members. This is one of the roots of human morality. We often think of morality as philosophy, religion, law, or personal choice. Those matter, but the emotional foundations are older. Sympathy, fairness, loyalty, anger at betrayal, care for children, grief for the dead, and concern for reputation all have deep social roots. Human morality became more complex with language and culture, but it did not appear from nothing. It grew from the practical needs of living together. As groups became more symbolic, they could create identities larger than immediate family. People could belong to a clan, a lineage, a ritual group, or a shared tradition. Ornaments may have helped signal belonging. Patterns on bodies, clothing, beads, shells, feathers, pigments, and later tattoos or markings could show who someone was, where they came from, or what role they held. Identity became visible. This was another step toward the world we know. Modern humans do this constantly. We use clothing, language, music, names, accents, flags, styles, professions, beliefs, and digital profiles to say who we are. The tools have changed, but the impulse is ancient. We want others to recognize us. We want to know where we fit. The spread of Homo sapiens into Ice Age Europe produced some of the most famous prehistoric art, but equally important developments happened across Africa, Asia, and Australia. Aboriginal Australians have cultural traditions connected to landscapes over immense spans of time. Coastal peoples developed ways of living with tides and marine resources. Inland groups mastered deserts, mountains, forests, and frozen regions. Each environment required knowledge refined through generations. In Australia, people arrived tens of thousands of years ago, crossing water gaps that required planning and perhaps simple boats or rafts. This was a remarkable achievement. It means humans were not only walking across land, they were learning to cross water intentionally. Reaching Sahul, the combined landmass of Australia and New Guinea during lower sea levels, required courage, knowledge, and group coordination. In Europe, Homo sapiens lived alongside Neanderthals for a period before Neanderthals disappeared around 40,000 years ago. Why they vanished remains debated. Climate change, small population size, competition, disease, assimilation through interbreeding, and differences in social networks or technology may all have played roles. It was probably not one simple cause. Extinction often comes from several pressures at once. The disappearance of Neanderthals was not the triumph of one dramatic battle. It was the fading of another human world. Their fires went out. Their tools stopped being made. Their children were no longer born as a separate people. Yet a small part of them remained inside us through ancestry. In that sense, they did not vanish completely. The same is true for Denisovan in a different way. We know them mostly through fragments and genes, but those fragments have changed our picture of the past. They remind us that many human stories are still hidden. A cave, a tooth, a finger bone, or a strand of ancient DNA can reopen an entire chapter. As modern humans moved into colder climates, clothing and shelter became essential. Unlike fur-covered animals adapted over millions of years to cold environments, humans solved many climate problems culturally. They used animal hides, plant fibers, bone needles, shelters, fire, and group cooperation. This allowed a tropical species to live in tundra, steppe, mountains, and eventually Arctic regions. Clothing is not just protection. It is portable environment. It allows the body to survive outside the climate for which bare skin would be suited. Shelter does something similar. A hut, tent, cave, windbreak, or later house creates a controlled space within a larger world. Humans became experts at making small worlds inside big ones. This ability separates us from many other animals. We do not only adapt genetically to the environment, we alter the environment around us. A fire changes night. Clothing changes cold. A tool changes the hand. A shelter changes weather. A story changes memory. A rule changes behavior. A map changes distance. A calendar changes time. By the late Ice Age, Homo sapiens had become the only surviving human species. This did not mean the journey was complete. It meant one branch of the human family had remained, carrying within it traces of the others and the long inheritance of everything before. These people were still hunter-gatherers. They did not have agriculture yet. They did not build cities. They did not write. But they were fully human in mind and body. A child born then, if raised in a modern family today, would be one of us. The difference between the child and us would not be biological capacity, but culture, education, technology, and environment. That thought is important. The human brain that later built pyramids, temples, ships, poems, and computers was already present before farming. For most of our species' existence, people lived without cities or writing, but not without intelligence. They navigated landscapes, tracked animals, made tools, remembered seasons, formed bonds, raised children, and created meaning. Their knowledge was not stored in libraries. It lived in people. Then, near the end of the Ice Age, climates began shifting again. Glaciers retreated. Sea levels changed. Plant and animal distributions moved. Some large animals disappeared in many regions, influenced by climate, human hunting, and ecological change. New possibilities opened in some places, while old ways became harder in others. In several parts of the world, humans began experimenting more intensively with plants and animals. This did not happen overnight, and it did not happen only once. Agriculture developed independently in multiple regions: the Fertile Crescent, China, New Guinea, parts of Africa, Mesoamerica, the Andes, and elsewhere. People began cultivating plants, managing landscapes, storing food, and eventually living in more permanent settlements. The shift to agriculture changed human bodies and societies in complicated ways. It supported larger populations, but it also brought new diseases, harder labor in some communities, nutritional changes, social inequality, property, conflict, and eventually states. Farming was not simply progress in every sense. It was a transformation with benefits and costs. But that belongs more fully to the next part of the story. For now, the second part closes with modern humans standing at the edge of a new world. They had spread across continents, met and mixed with other human species, adapted to sunlight, cold, altitude, diet, and distance. They had painted, carved, buried, remembered, crossed water, followed herds, lived through ice ages, and learned to make meaning from the world around them. Their bodies carried ancient forests, open plains, rivers, and migrations. Their minds carried memory, fear, affection, imagination, and the need to belong. Their faces carried ancestry and expression. Their hands carried tools and touch. Their voices carried stories. By then, the human being had become not only an animal that survived, but an animal that explained, decorated, mourned, planned, taught, and wondered. The next chapter begins when some of these wandering communities started to stay longer in one place, when seeds became fields, animals became herds, villages became towns, and the old human mind entered a world it had never been built for: civilization. The next chapter begins when some wandering communities started to stay longer in one place, when seeds became fields, animals became herds, villages became towns, and the old mind of a forager entered a world it had never been built for: civilization. For most of our existence, people lived by gathering, hunting, fishing, tracking, moving, and sharing knowledge through memory. Then, in different parts of the world, groups began to change their relationship with plants and animals. They noticed where useful grasses grew. They protected certain patches. They returned to places where seeds had fallen. They learned that some animals could be followed, managed, kept, or bred. None of this happened in a single generation. Farming was not invented one morning. It emerged slowly, through observation, experiment, hunger, luck, climate change, and repeated choices. At the end of the last ice age, the world became warmer and more stable in many regions. Rivers changed. Forests spread. Grasslands shifted. Some large animals vanished. People had to adjust. In the Fertile Crescent, wild wheat and barley grew in places where communities could gather them. In China, rice and millet became important. In Mesoamerica, maize was gradually transformed from a wild grass into one of the great crops of history. In the Andes, potatoes and llamas shaped life at high altitude. In Africa, sorghum, millet, cattle, and other resources formed different agricultural worlds. Agriculture allowed more food to be produced in a smaller area, but it also brought new pressures. Fields had to be cleared, planted, protected, and harvested. Stored grain had to be defended. Animals needed care. Seasons became schedules. A bad harvest could threaten an entire settlement. The work could be repetitive and physically demanding. Diets sometimes became narrower than before, depending heavily on a few crops. As people lived closer together, disease spread more easily. Animals living near homes brought new infections. Waste, crowding, and stored food attracted pests. So the move toward farming was not a simple story of improvement. It gave people stability, population growth, and the foundations for towns and states, But it also brought inequality, labor, conflict, and illness on a new scale. The same change that made cities possible also made armies, taxes, famine, and social hierarchy possible. Once villages grew larger, society became more complicated. Not everyone did the same work. Some farmed. Some made pottery. Some built houses. Some shaped tools. Some organized rituals. Some traded. Some led. Some obeyed. Over time, certain families gained more land, animals, food, or authority than others. Wealth could be stored and inherited. Power became less temporary. A person's place in society could depend not only on skill or age, but on birth, property, and control over resources. This new world changed daily life. A forager might know the landscape through movement, where water could be found, where berries ripened, where herds passed, where shelter was safe. A farmer knew land through return, the same field, the same seasons, the same boundaries, the same labor year after year. A villager lived surrounded by more people than a small mobile group would have known. Cooperation remained necessary, but so did rules, punishment, negotiation, and leadership. The older mind had evolved for small groups, personal relationships, face-to-face memory, and direct experience. Civilization created larger communities where strangers had to trust systems, customs, leaders, laws, markets, temples, and eventually writing. People began living inside imagined order shared by thousands, then millions. A city is not held together only by walls. It is held by stories people agree to believe: who owns land, who has authority, which gods matter, what counts as debt, what a name on a tablet means, why a symbol on a seal has power. Writing changed memory itself. Before writing, knowledge lived in bodies and voices. After writing, memory could be placed outside the mind. A clay tablet could record grain. A mark could represent a number. A sign could preserve a name. This began as a practical tool in many early states, especially for administration, trade, and accounting, but it eventually opened the door to literature, law, history, poetry, philosophy, and science. Once people could write, they could speak to the future in a new way. A ruler could issue commands beyond the sound of his voice. A merchant could record a debt. A priest could preserve a ritual. A poet could outlive their own breath. Written language did not replace oral memory, but it extended it. Humanity had found another way to carry itself across time. Cities changed the body less quickly than they changed behavior, but new environments created new pressures. Diets based on agriculture affected teeth, jaws, height, and health. Softer cooked and processed foods may have contributed over long periods to smaller jaws and dental crowding. Infectious disease became a major force in crowded settlements, shaping immune systems. Dairying encouraged lactose tolerance in some populations. Malaria shaped genes and regions where it was common. Life at high altitude, Arctic cold, tropical heat, desert dryness, and dense urban disease environments all left marks in different populations. Our physical variety continued to reflect movement and adaptation. Skin pigmentation followed patterns of sunlight and ancestry. Body proportions responded in broad ways to temperature. Faces changed under the influence of many forces: climate, diet, development, genetic drift, mate choice, and population history. There is no clean line separating biology from culture. A group's food, clothing, shelter, migration, marriage patterns, and social rules can all influence the traits that become common over time. But the most dramatic changes after agriculture were cultural. Technology began to move faster than genes. A stone tool tradition could last hundreds of thousands of years. Later, farming methods, pottery styles, metals, writing systems, ships, wheels, weapons, laws, and beliefs could change within centuries or even decades. Culture became an accelerating force. It allowed people to adapt without waiting for the body to evolve. The invention of metalworking altered power. Copper, bronze, and later iron changed tools, weapons, farming, trade, and warfare. Roads connected distant places. Ships carried goods and ideas across seas. Domesticated animals pulled plows, carried loads, provided milk, wool, meat, and companionship. Horses changed transport and war. Dogs, much earlier domesticated, became hunting partners, guards, and social companions, their own evolution tied closely to ours. Every new invention reshaped the conditions of life. The plow changed the field. The field changed food. Food changed population. Population changed settlement. Settlement changed politics. Politics changed conflict. Conflict changed technology. Technology changed imagination. By the time kingdoms and empires appeared, people were living in systems far larger than anything their Ice Age ancestors had known. Yet inside those systems, the older mind remained. A person in an ancient city still wanted belonging. Still feared exclusion. Still watched status. Still cared about reputation. Still formed families, friendships, rivalries, and alliances. Still felt jealousy, loyalty, grief, desire, anger, pride, shame, and hope. Civilization gave these emotions new settings, but not new origins. The same nervous system that once listened for predators in the dark now listened for rumors in a marketplace, insults in a court, danger in a ruler's command, or rejection in another person's silence. This is one reason modern life can feel strange. Our minds are ancient, but our surroundings are new. We live with artificial light, clocks, crowded cities, money, screens, schools, governments, hospitals, and digital communication. The body still responds to stress with systems built for immediate danger. Heart rate rises. Muscles prepare. Attention narrows. Hormones shift. But many modern problems cannot be solved by running, fighting, hiding, or climbing a tree. A deadline, an exam, an unanswered message, a bill, a social comparison, or an uncertain future can activate old alarm systems in situations where no predator is present. Our personalities also developed inside this long tension between inheritance and environment. Genes influence temperament, but they do not write a complete life. A child is born with tendencies, not a finished character. Some infants are more reactive, some calmer, some more exploratory, some more cautious. Childhood experience, parenting, culture, trauma, nutrition, education, friendship, illness, and opportunity all shape how these tendencies unfold. Evolution prepared a range, not a single personality. In small groups, different temperaments could help survival. A careful watcher might notice danger. A bold explorer might find new resources. A patient maker might improve tools. A socially sensitive person might prevent conflict. A skeptical person might detect deception. A generous one might build trust. A storyteller might preserve knowledge. A group needs more than one kind of mind. This does not mean every trait is easy to live with. Anxiety can protect, but it can also trap. Ambition can drive achievement, but it can exhaust. Sensitivity can create empathy, but also pain. Independence can bring strength, but also isolation. A trait that helps in one environment may hurt in another. Much of becoming mature is learning how to guide old tendencies into useful forms. The same applies to physical needs. Sleep, touch, movement, sunlight, social connection, and meaningful activity are not luxuries. They are tied to the conditions under which our bodies and minds formed. For most of history, people moved daily, lived closer to natural light, slept according to darkness and fire, worked with others, and belonged to communities where life was demanding but socially embedded. Modern comfort solved many old problems, but it created new forms of loneliness, inactivity, overstimulation, and disconnection. None of this means the past was better. Ancient life could be harsh, short, violent, and uncertain. Many children died young. Injuries could become fatal. Hunger was common. Disease had few remedies. Social rules could be restrictive and cruel. But the past explains why some parts of us feel mismatched today. We are not broken because we struggle with modern pressure. We are carrying systems built for a different world. As civilization expanded, people began asking questions about themselves in more formal ways. Myths explained origins. Religions explained purpose. Philosophers asked what a good life should be. Physicians studied the body. Historians recorded memory. Artists explored beauty, grief, power, and love. Scientists much later began to uncover deep time, fossils, natural selection, genetics, and the true age of Earth. Humanity became the only species we know of that tried to reconstruct its own making. The discovery of evolution changed our self-image. It showed that we are not separate from nature, but part of it. Our bones connect us to earlier mammals. Our hands remember branches and stone. Our blood carries ancient adaptations. Our cells contain DNA shared with all living things. We are related not only to apes, but distantly to every creature that ever inherited the machinery of life. This can feel humbling. It can also feel beautiful. The human being is not less meaningful because it emerged through evolution. If anything, the long path makes us more remarkable. Consciousness, love, art, science, memory, and moral reflection arose from matter shaped by time. A universe of stars produced a planet, The planet produced life, life produced minds able to look back and wonder. Genetics added another layer to the story. DNA revealed that all living people share recent common ancestry in evolutionary terms. The differences we notice on the surface are small compared with the genetic unity beneath them. Two people from distant parts of the world may look different because of ancestry and adaptation, yet they are members of one young species with roots in Africa. The idea of completely separate human types does not match biology. We have always been a moving, mixing, changing species. Ancient DNA has made the picture even richer. It showed that modern humans interbred with Neanderthals and Denisovans. It traced migrations across Europe, Asia, Africa, Oceania, and the Americas. It revealed population replacements, mixtures, and movements that archaeology alone could not fully see. Every new discovery complicates old stories. Human history is not a clean tree drawn with straight lines. It is a network of branches meeting, separating, and meeting again. The peopling of the Americas is one of the great later chapters. During the Ice Age, lower sea levels exposed land between Siberia and Alaska, creating Beringia. Groups moved into or through this region, then eventually spread south into North and South America. The timing and routes remain subjects of research, with evidence pointing to complex movements, perhaps along coasts as well as inland paths. Within thousands of years, people adapted to forests, plains, deserts, mountains, coastlines, and tropical regions, creating diverse cultures long before European contact. This ability to enter almost every environment on Earth is one of our defining traits. Humans learned to live in rainforests, deserts, islands, high mountains, Arctic regions, river valleys, and crowded cities. We did it not because our bodies were perfectly suited to each place, but because culture extended our bodies. Clothing, fire, shelter, tools, boats, containers, language, medicine, and cooperation allowed us to make homes in places evolution alone would not have prepared us to survive. Eventually, agriculture led to states, writing, law, organized religion, large-scale trade, and empires. The pace of change increased. A person living in a Bronze Age city already inhabited a world far removed from the mobile forager camps of deep prehistory. A person living today is even farther removed. Yet the distance is not as complete as it feels. Look at a modern hand holding a phone. The device is new, but the hand is ancient. Its thumb, grip, sensitivity, and coordination come from a history of branches, stones, tools, fibers, firewood, needles, bowls, blades, brushes, and pens. The mind reading a message is modern, but its concern with status, belonging, tone, and response is old. The eyes scanning a screen are using systems shaped for faces, tracks, movement, and landscape. The body sitting under artificial light still belongs to a species shaped by sun, darkness, and rhythm. Our fears are old too. We fear isolation because isolation once threatened survival. We fear judgment because group reputation mattered. We fear the unknown because unknown places could hide danger. We fear loss because attachment keeps us close to what sustains us. At the same time, our courage is old. So is curiosity. So is kindness. So is the ability to gather around a problem and solve it together. The story of how we became human is therefore not only about the past. It is about understanding the present. It explains why we need stories, why music moves us, why faces matter, why children require long care, why touch comforts, why injustice angers us, why beauty holds attention, why memory can hurt, and why hope can keep people moving through difficulty. It also explains why we are unfinished. Evolution did not produce a final form. It produced a species still changing biologically and culturally. Our bodies continued to respond to environments. Our cultures transform faster than ever. Technology now shapes sleep, attention, relationships, work, reproduction, and identity. Future humans, if they look back at us, may see this age as another turning point, the moment when a species shaped by nature began reshaping not only the world, but itself. There is risk in that power. The same intelligence that made fire, tools, medicine, and art can also make weapons, pollution, inequality, and destruction. Humanity has always carried both cooperation and conflict. Our future depends on which parts of our inheritance we strengthen. Empathy, planning, creativity, memory, and shared identity may matter more than ever. Still, despite all the changes, the essential thread remains simple. We are living beings made by time. We came from forests, open lands, rivers, coastlines, ice, firelight, and social bonds. We were shaped by mothers carrying children, Hunters following tracks, gatherers recognizing plants, elders teaching memory, toolmakers striking stone, artists touching cave walls, travelers crossing unknown land, and communities learning how to stay alive together. No single ancestor knew the whole story. Lucy did not know about cities. Homo erectus did not know about writing. The first cave painters did not know about satellites. Early farmers did not know about genetics. Each lived inside a small present, as we do. Yet every life added something to the long chain. That is perhaps the most moving part of the story. Humanity was not made only by famous discoveries or dramatic revolutions. It was also made by ordinary survival repeated beyond counting. A child fed. A fire kept alive. A tool repaired. A path remembered. A warning given. A wound cared for. A seed noticed. A story told. A body buried. A hand held. Over time, these ordinary acts became civilization. They became language, art, science, law, medicine, music, and memory. They became us. When we ask how humans became human, we are really asking how matter became meaning. How bones became gesture. How sound became language. How hunger became agriculture. How fear became ritual. How memory became history. How attention became art. How a primate body became a person capable of looking at the stars and asking where it came from. The answer is not a single event. It is a journey. It begins in ancient life, moves through forests, rises onto 2 feet, takes stone into the hand, gathers around fire, learns to speak, paints the dark, crosses continents, adapts to sun and cold, buries the dead, plants seeds, builds villages, invents gods and laws, writes names, studies bones, reads DNA, and finally turns back toward its own beginning. The story is still continuing. Every person alive carries part of it. In the arch of the foot, the shape of the hand, the need for belonging, the fear of darkness, the comfort of a voice, the love of story, the pain of exclusion, the curiosity about origins, and the ability to imagine tomorrow, the old journey remains. We are modern, but not separate from the ancient world. We are new, but built from old layers. We are individuals, but also descendants. Inside every face is a history of sunlight, ancestry, migration, family, and chance. Inside every character is a mixture of temperament, upbringing, culture, memory, and choice. Inside every body is the record of a species that survived not by being the strongest animal, but by becoming adaptable, social, inventive, and restless. The road from the first primates to modern people was long, uneven, and uncertain. Many branches disappeared. Many lives left no trace. Most names were never spoken into history. Yet the result is here whenever a person wonders, learns, cares, builds, grieves, laughs, or tells a story before sleep. That is how humans became human. Not all at once. Not by perfection. Not by a straight path. But through time, change, danger, cooperation, imagination, and the quiet persistence of life itself.